Northwest residential remodel contractor. Due diligence. My big one is property inspection. So do those walkthroughs, the wholesale thing, look around, go through as many homes as you can. I was gonna say that a lot of us here get to see a lot of homes, and so you start figuring out what the issues are. And so doing the property inspections, do the title search, talk to the title company, get them to run the search on that to make sure there's no liens, no encumbrances. We've looked at a lot of homes on the county steps, and when they are auctioned, you don't get a report from, hey, by the way, there's $50,000 of back taxes owed on this house. So that is one thing that we like to run the trio from title to make sure that it is in there. We bought a house in Portland on Powell Boulevard. We knew that it had $8,000 of encumbrances on the home, so that went into the budget, right? But we bought a house in Portland for $100,000 last year, and that's rare. So we were like, hey, we'll take $8,000 of encumbrances and go. But we knew that from the title search appraisal. Make sure that the property is actually listed for a good price. Run the comps. Look at Redfin. Look at Zillow. I look at Redfin. That's my preference. I think a lot of people have different preferences on Zillow or Redfin.
Who's a Zillower in this room? I'm more Zillow. Oh, you are? Oh, I'm so much more Redfin.
Yeah, well, I think we've been using Redfin for
forever.
Yeah, a lot longer. Yeah, it's a whole other story. The Redfin. Zoning laws. Make sure if you're wanting to change a property from residential to commercial. We did a project here in Brooks where the customer wanted to change a house into her office, and she found out that if she got a lot of her remodel done before she changed it to zoning, that she could get away with a lot more things on ADA, on some of the requirements in the home, because then it was a home conversion versus if she would have converted it to commercial first, we would have had to do, well, all of her doors were too small. So she's like, what do I do? Or the bathrooms weren't ADA compliant. And so her budget, just knowing that from the zoning change, she could get away with it, and that helped her cash flow. She got 4 offices out of a house on 99 here in Brooks, which is doing well, and that has turned into a multi-time customer for investing off of that relationship. Financing, make sure your financials are in order and you're pre-approved for the loan if you're not paying cash. So kind of make sure that they will finance on that home. Make sure there's a heating source, hot water, those kind of things, or hard money, or cash where they don't really care as much about what the condition of that home is in, as long as it'll sell for what you got into it. Review your contracts. Make sure that you read all the lines, the insurance, make sure the lawyer looks at it. We look at a lot of investor contracts. Make sure it spells out what the expectations are. Also going through the disclosures from the people selling the house, seeing what they disclose. A lot of those things. Anything else, Stephanie, that you want to add on reviewing the contracts? Neighborhood analysis, walk the neighborhood. We have a mutual friend, he says the best thing he does is walk the dog. So if he needs to drum up deals, he just takes out and walks the dog, because they'll all talk to him when he's walking the dog out there. And then he's also looking at what's going on in the neighborhood, what is, who's remodeling, what house is sitting vacant, the long grass, watching the Redfin, making sure when they do sell, what they're selling for and what condition the house is in. We look in Arizona. We talked to our agent down there and said, where can we buy sight unseen? And he gave us like a 5-block radius and said, here, if you can find a deal here, you don't have to come down. So we flew down and we learned that neighborhood as much as we could in 24 hours, probably less than that. And then walked it, looked at where we wanted, where we crossed off areas that we didn't like inside that 5-block radius, and then came home and knew when we saw the deal that we were the first person with an offer in that agent's hands so that we can have the best shot. Got our ducks in a row, that kind of thing. So get out there, look at that neighborhood. Environmental checks, that comes more in your commercial land. If you have to do check for environmental assessments, making sure that there was no contamination in soils. A lot of lending will require, I think it's a stage 3 environmental test to make sure they ask you all sorts of questions of the history of the property. Was there a auto repair shop? Was there a fertilizer plant? Was there things, storage, petroleum products, excuse me, on the property? Trying to make sure that you don't have a environmental issue later on, especially financing doesn't want to find out that you're going to have a big EPA cleanup on your hands. Same thing, tank search. In a lot of the older neighborhoods, you had oil tanks for heat. So those are big ones that sometimes we forget about when we're using cash or hard money, that you need to go out and make sure that you did your research, that they're not on the property, because when you sell it, it most likely will be financed and they will have to, you're gonna have to deal with that in negotiations. Look at your insurance costs and needs, which we covered, and then contingencies, making sure that you know what needs to be upgraded in the home or what needs to be dealt with in selling it or buying. You know, knowing what the bank is going to require you. I always say I get called a lot for smoke alarms, CO2 detectors, and then strapping water heaters. And those are kind of things on the flipping side. The strapping the water heater one is one of those that rarely makes that checklist when you're like, okay, we did all of these things and forgot to put the 2 straps on the water heater, so I'm always scrambling back to go put straps on the water heater.
I literally had to do that.
Yeah, oh,
I was like, how did I forget this?
yeah, no, it's one of those. I strapped a water heater that was inside of its own closet. It was like,
A tiny little closet.
yeah, it couldn't go anywhere. And I was like, why am I strapping this thing? I can't even. It was a pain.
He's like, where do you want me to strap this to?
Like I can't get a screwdriver even in there to get the screw in. It's so tight.
Put the piece of tape and put strap.
Yeah, it was.
Label it strap.
It was very similar. It was a very similar situation.
Maybe silver duct tape.
Talk to the neighbors. Look around. As much information as you can gather before you buy and plan for is the best thing that you can do. Which way did I go? Oh, the investor-contractor relationship. One that Alex and I just talked about. He referred an investor to me yesterday, and he was going through a wholesaler walkthrough. He's like, can you come with me? And I said, well, I would love to, but I can't make it, and I need some more parameters on just going to a walkthrough, because if I commit all my time just going to people's walkthroughs, they're not under contract, I know that there's probably 20 to 30 other people going to that, the odds of it. So I said, just take your pictures, give me comps in the area that you want, and then send back that to me, and I can kind of give you the rough, hey, the roof's going to be $12,000. This is going to be $7,000. This is going to be $8,000. So I sent that to him today, and he's like, yeah, you listed off more than the profit is on the house. I said, perfect. You know it's not a deal that you want then, and I know I won't make any money either on something like that. So kind of going through what makes it my life easier is having those clear expectations. If you want, one of them is the kind of interesting is just your drywall finish, right? That no texture look is been kind of coming in and goes around, and it costs a lot of money. And so they go, I say, oh yeah, it's $5,000 to do this drywall, and then they come back and like, well, we're doing flat level 5 finish is what that is, and is a very time intensive. And they go, yeah, but this isn't flat. And I go, well, it's fine. It's $50,000 if you want that way, or do you want the $5,000 where we texture the walls and paint it? And they come back and say, okay, this home does not warrant that. And then also telling me that you want that you have 30,000, do what you can is great, but I also want to make sure that I have the finished product you want, right? And I am not the person to say what color looks best here. It's not me. I would rather you tell me what color, what finishes, come prepared with all the most decisions you can have, the best. Or what happens is we bring in, for us, we have Stephanie, we also have Ashley on our team that design homes. They see a lot of homes, so they come to us and say, I have $80,000 renovation budget. I would want to make X amount in return. Can you guys make that happen to sell this house? And we say, yes, we can. No, we can't. We work with you there. Those ones are fun, where that gives us creative outlet to work with someone else's money. Have your budget, know your ARV, your after repair value. A lot of times they go, well, what can we get? I said, well, it depends on what you want. And then also don't price yourself out of the neighborhood. You do want a beautiful home. And most of the time, if we do every system, if we do everything, you'll outprice yourself in the neighborhood. So kind of you look at finishes, those things, to make sure that you're not going to be the shining diamond is great, but most of the time the neighborhood won't support it. Knowing what that neighborhood is going to do. Be willing to accept change. COVID was where we were like, I think I'm done doing remodels for customers because they want that black Moen one faucet, and they went non-existent. And I'm like, guys, we got to keep the project moving. We got to keep going. And so that is one thing. On the flips, it's a nice thing because we can be more fluid on, hey, this faucet looks very similar, is black. It'll keep things moving along. That goes the level 5 finish on drywall. Trying to think what other changes we've had. Oh yeah.
Where every bathtub was in the Suez Canal. I don't remember.
Yeah, when the boat got stuck.
Sideways. Like every bathtub to the United States.
Yeah.
Lady we took her bathtub out like the beginning of October to get her remodel done before Thanksgiving.
And then couldn't find a bathtub because it was a funny size. So
wall and all sorts of things because it was better.
So we went from a fiberglass surround to tiling.
Yeah. You get a tub, but not a tub surround.
Yeah.
So just was.
Yeah. And now there's a warranty claim on the tub. And it's like, well, which, it happens. And then, build trust and rapport, and that just comes off of repetition, doing jobs together and knowing the end project. Like, for me, we are on probably flip 7 with our painter. And so I call and say, okay, I need numbers on this double wide. And he goes, same as last time. I said, yep, just different color. He's like, okay, we're very in tune and in sync now on going how fast, timelines, scheduling, and then he knows if he can change things or if I need to change things, we can do that. Same thing, plumbers, building those relationships so that you have that phone call, hey, plumber had an issue, we're 2 days behind now, can you scramble things around? Yes, we can get that, we'll get you taken care of. Can you be there on Saturday to open up the door to do this? Yeah, we'll get you taken care of. So those are kind of the big ones. I would say if you're out there looking at contractors, is ask around, use your network, look at ask them other finished work, other things that they've done. trying to, if you see subcontractors out and about, ask them who good generals are that they like to work with, because they work with a lot through the day. I would say the first two flips, customers texting me right now. Our first two flips, we used a general contractor, learned quite a bit, and then decided we wanted to bring that in-house. And so we kind of started going that way on, I transitioned from farming into construction and going that route. Anything else, Stephanie? Do you have anything I want to cover there?
Do you work in the Westland area too?
Yeah, we go. I try not to get much farther north than that, and I don't want to really go west to Hillsboro. I try not to touch 217 if I don't have to. We right now, except like Bobby's got one deep Gresham, and he's having me work up, but because I have that relationship and he's going to have more deals, you kind of go, okay, we'll work on that. We did one in Powell. We budgeted like $15,000 in travel, and we ate it all up. Same thing. I did a remodel in Detroit, and I think I did $15,000 for just travel costs there, and we ate that one up. You kind of have those things, and then when people ask me, well, geez, you're kind of expensive on it, I said, yeah, well, I have to put in the travel. When it takes an hour and a half to get home, and there's 3 guys sitting in a pickup, it takes a lot of money up. You're 7 hours sitting there, 5.5.
17 is not fun.
No, luckily I really haven't had much out 217. Stay more Sherwood side. We got into a neighborhood like 3 years ago, and I think the moms group just like keeps passing my contact around, and I'm doing kitchens and bathrooms up there. And
All the houses were built within like 10 years of each other.
Yeah.
Still like, oh, you're gonna have a bathroom leak. What do you mean?
Well, I've seen it now. And also same thing that I will put on for me is the network. Like 2 of those remodels in Sherwood were teachers at my middle school here in Woodburn, and had no idea that going into the job. Like, it was just very weird how those kind of network things come about. So
We live in a very small place.
yeah,
Yes.
We do. I mean, we run into the same people all the time.
yep,
And that's what we said with our flips. Like, we lost a lot of deals the last few years because it's my face that goes on the sign. Like, we don't do lipstick remodel. Like, our
Right.
remodels are quality, and so but it's being able to learn to communicate that has been huge. And it's, people say, well, you're too expensive for me. No, that's not true at all. I'm more thorough than others are, and so just really learning. Dylan and I have spent a lot on communication skills in the last couple of years, and out of everything, communication and leadership. It doesn't matter how many real estate trainings I've been to. Being able to talk so that people feel valued is the most important thing.
yes.
So do you find it easier to bid per job? For instance, I could run off the list of what I want done, and then you could just give me the rent, like here's total cost? Or do you like to keep stuff line item?
If I'm doing a whole home, I line item basically by room.
By room? Okay.
Yeah, mostly.
But like if she says trim, you're saying like if I want trim doors.
Yeah, like here's the whole house, but I want these like 10 things, these items covered. Anything outside of this is not your scope.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've got the 80 grand, make it happen. Like,
Yeah. It's just up front telling me what you want.
Mhm.
Where we really run into problems is when somebody asks for,
It's the expectation piece, right?
yeah, like I don't know, I'm trying to think of, but where we run into it a lot is like once you fix one thing, then everything else looks horrible, and or
Job creep is the biggest thing that we run into, especially on remodels
people
and
say,
coming
"Oh,
in
my
and when we're getting ready to paint.
I will paint that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
And it never happens.
Well, that or I go.
You spend so much on beautiful doors, and then you roll it. And
Yeah,
now they're not-
and they look speckled, and I go, we just put 120 grand getting you to paint. Let's put the 10 to make it look beautiful. That's what you're gonna notice, right? Like you're gonna see it when there's no lines, when it's a mirror glass finish on the door. That's what things pop, especially if you're gonna sell it. You walk in and you see those bad caulking jobs. You see the paint where they go, why did they paint this, and why did they choose this line where Stephanie calls him the most expensive painter in the valley, but he's a very good painter, and he's got 8 crews going, and so we have come to the realization that a lot of times the cheapest guy is not your best guy. We have been through the people that are moonlighting. We've been through the people that are working nights because they have that day job, and here what happens is I'm then working as they are. So
I think that's a good first-time investor thing, is that we have gotten where we really don't have work past 4 o'clock. So if you want to deal with a moonlighter, that's where you're gonna get some of that sweat equity. If you're
Yes.
gonna be willing to go open the doors, if you're gonna be willing to communicate in the evenings and stuff when the moonlighters are, then you can get some more equity. We don't believe that time freedom is gone for us then, so we'll pay a little bit more to only work during business hours.
yes.
You lose money on the timeline.
Yes, a lot of times we've found the holding costs,
Or the
making sure that you're hitting your timeline marks.
Right.
Powell, we did the Moonlighter. He got booked on a job away, so he was gone for a week when he was supposed to be hanging drywall at our job site. And so it just kind of bumps those things out. And it's like, okay, I need to get to a bigger crew. I need to get reliable and someone that has. I've moved into a lot more systems.
Yeah.
So looking at, are they using a software program? Are they using something? Can I text somebody? Can I call them? What kind of email? Looking at the communication that happens.
Do I have to run somebody a check right this second?
Yes. They finished hanging the last sheet of drywall. Do I have to be there at 9 p.m. at night to hand in the check when they're done? Those kind of things. Or will they send me an invoice? Will I get an invoice? I have a great plumber. He's an awesome guy, been doing it for 30 years. And I had to quit using him on customers because I wouldn't know how much he would charge me for 2 months after the job. And so I'm like, I can't use you for a customer, because what happens if I thought it was $2,000, it was $4,000, and now I can't come back to you and say, the plumber charged me $4,000, I need to cover. So those are things that we've worked through. Any other questions? All right, Alex. Oh, back to due diligence.